Al-Masjid al-Aqsa and the Dome of the Rock are two distinct but closely situated Islamic structures within the larger compound known as the Al-Aqsa compound, located in the Old City of Jerusalem. The complex itself holds religious significance for Muslims around the world and is considered one of the holiest of sites. Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, whose name translates to the farthest mosque, is one of the oldest mosques in the world and serves as a place of worship. It covers a large area within the compound and has been historically used for congregational prayers, religious teachings, and gatherings. The mosque itself comprises of multiple prayer halls, domes, courtyards, and other architectural features. It has been renovated and reconstructed multiple times throughout history due to various natural disasters and conflicts, but remains a central place of worship. Unlike Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, the Dome of the Rock is not a mosque for daily prayers. Instead, it is a structure that houses the spot believed to be where the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, ascended to heaven during the night journey, and is characterized by its iconic architectural beauty, intricate mosaics, and ornate design. Both are located within the larger compound believed to be the site where the Temple of Solomon once stood. According to Rashi, King Solomon was regarded as one of the 48 Jewish prophets in Judaism. Within Islamic tradition, he is also a prophet and referred to as Sulaiman, peace be upon him. The Temple of Solomon, also known as the First Temple, holds great significance in Jewish history, theology, and tradition. King Solomon is credited with its construction. According to the Hebrew Bible, the Temple of Solomon was built on Mount Moriah and served as the central place of worship for the Israelites. It was known for its grandeur and served various religious functions, including sacrifices, rituals, and ceremonies conducted by the priesthood. The description in 1 Kings 6:2 suggests that the structure was 60 cubits in length, 20 in width, and 30 cubits in height. For this reason, the entire compound where the temple once existed is regarded as a sacred site. The whole of it, from an Islamic perspective, may be regarded as Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, as the title extends to the entire area of the compound, not exclusively to the main mosque building within it. This is the view shared by the 10th century geographer Al-Muqaddasi, the 11th century scholar Nasr Khasru, the 12th century geographer Al-Idrisi, and the 15th century Islamic scholar Mujiruddin. According to them, Al-Masjid al-Aqsa thus encompasses the entire Esplanade Plaza, also known as the Temple Mount, and includes the Dome of the Rock, the fountains, the gates, and the 4 minarets, as these structures never existed during the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him. This view is echoed by 19th century Orientalists such as Edward Robinson, Guy Lestrange, and Edward Henry Palmer. The first temple was built in the 10th century BCE, but was destroyed by the Babylonians in 586 BCE after King Nebuchadnezzar conquered Jerusalem. The second temple was built on the same site and became the center of Jewish worship once again. It was destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE. The western wall, also known as the Wailing Wall, is a remnant of the retaining wall of the second temple and is situated adjacent to the compound. At one time, the Temple of Solomon housed the Holy of Holies. This was the innermost chamber of the temple and was regarded to be the holiest part of the sacred structure. This chamber was separated by a veil or curtain and was accessible only to the high priest. It housed the Ark of the Covenant, which was considered to be among the most sacred of objects, as it contained the stone tablets inscribed with the 10 Commandments received by Moses, peace be upon him. Access to this sacred space was highly restricted and reserved for the high priest, who entered the Holy of Holies only once a year on the Day of Atonement to perform specific rituals and prayers. After the destruction of the first temple, the Ark of the Covenant essentially vanished from history. There have been, however, different views as to what happened. The question of what happened to the Ark formed the basis of Spielberg's first Indiana Jones film. In rabbinic literature, some rabbis held that it must have been carried off to Babylon. Others held that it must have been hidden due to fears that it would end up there. According to church leaders, the Ark of the Covenant has for centuries been closely guarded in Axum at the Church of St. Mary of Zion. Not even the high priest of Axum can enter its resting chamber. Its sole custodian is a virgin monk who cannot leave the sacred grounds until his death. Despite the existence of such a claim, This information should be regarded as part of religious traditions or beliefs rather than established historical fact. Among some religious and nationalist groups, there is an aspiration to rebuild the Third Temple due to the belief that the temple's reconstruction is a fulfillment of prophecy and a restoration of Jewish sovereignty. It's important to note that this view is not universally held by all Jewish communities, and there are differing perspectives within Judaism regarding the rebuilding of the temple. Over the centuries, it is clear, however, that the Temple of Solomon has captivated imaginations, becoming the focal point of various legends, mysteries, and speculative narratives. Its allure stems from the intersection of historical accounts, religious significance, and the development of mystical interpretations. In Jewish mysticism, especially within the teachings of Kabbalah, the Temple of Solomon holds deeper symbolic and metaphysical meanings beyond its historical and physical attributes. Kabbalistic texts and teachings, including the Zohar, delve into the spiritual and cosmological significance of the temple's design and rituals. These texts often offer symbolic interpretations that go beyond the literal understanding of the temple's physical structure. The Zohar, a foundational and influential work in Kabbalistic thought, contains symbolic interpretations and mystical insights associated with the Temple of Solomon. It explores the temple's design and the rituals performed within it, presenting them as representations of spiritual and cosmic principles. Within Kabbalistic teachings, the temple's architecture and the activities conducted within its sacred spaces are often seen as metaphors for divine and mystical concepts. Throughout medieval and later periods, various occult texts, including grimoires, alchemical treatises, and writings on esoteric practices, have frequently referenced the Temple of Solomon within the context of mystical or occult traditions. These texts focus on a variety of magical practices, including the summoning of spirits, the crafting of magical sigils, and the utilization of mystical symbols, presenting a synthesis of magical elements within a framework linked to the Temple of Solomon. It should nonetheless be emphasized that these texts are not historically linked to King Solomon. Islamic teachings even go so far as to label the notion that they are as a form of disbelief. In any case, these texts have influenced occult traditions and magical practices for centuries. The association of Solomon with magic is primarily found in mystical texts, certain interpretations of the Bible, and apocryphal works. The most famous account of Solomon's supposed magical abilities are found in the Testament of Solomon in Christian folklore, in addition to Kabbalistic tradition. These texts often emerged later and are attributed to Solomon based on tradition rather than direct historical evidence. For instance, the Testament of Solomon is a pseudepigraphical work, meaning it's falsely attributed to Solomon and was likely written long after his time, possibly during the Hellenistic or early Christian periods. Likewise, while the Bible includes accounts of King Solomon's wisdom and reign, it does not extensively cover his supposed involvement in mystical or magical practices. References to his control over spirits or demons are limited in the canonical texts and are subject to interpretation. In any case, these texts have influenced occult traditions and magical practices for centuries. Masonic and Rosicrucian traditions have similarly been influenced by the Temple of Solomon as a source of inspiration and symbolism. Masonic lore frequently draws allegorical parallels between the temple's architecture and the teachings, rituals, and symbolism within the Masonic order. They see the temple as a powerful symbol representing moral and spiritual concepts, which serves as a cornerstone for instruction and philosophical reflection. Rosicrucianism is a spiritual and cultural movement that arose in Europe in the early 17th century after the publication of several texts announcing to the world a new esoteric order. Followers of this movement were also inspired by the Temple of Solomon and incorporated the temple's symbolism into their philosophical and spiritual teachings. For them, the temple serves as a metaphor for inner transformation, spiritual ascension, and the pursuit of esoteric wisdom. It must be stressed, however, that the ultimate significance of the location lies in its revered connection to the divine, as it symbolizes the sanctity of the place of worship where believers commune with God. The location itself is a testament to the spiritual link between humanity and the divine. embodying the sanctity and veneration of a sacred place for religious devotion and spiritual fulfillment.